and welcome to the January 12th, 2026 Okaloosa County School Board meeting. It's our first meeting of the new year. Hope your new year's off to a great start. All right, at this time, I will call the meeting to order. Okay. Then we'll move down, board members, section 2. We had one change to the agenda, and that was 17.2. One moment. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. 17.27. And let me remind you what that is. Sorry about that. All right, and that is First Amendment to the Grant Award Agreement between Triumph Gulf Coast, Inc. and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida for the Health Academy of Northwest Florida Project number 271. All right, so that's the one change. So at this time, I need a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Heinle. Second by Mr. Bryant. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries 5-0. All right, moving on to section 3, we have a recognition tonight. I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Chambers.
Thank you, Madam Chair and School Board. I want to start off by saying we are about to recognize Dr. Lee Hale. And Dr. Hale retired from our school district this January. And there's many individuals in this room right now where their entire career has been in Okaloosa schools. And then some of you were also a student in Okaloosa schools. And Dr. Hale is exactly that, going from elementary all the way to retirement of over 30 years of service to this school district. And you think about the school days with Dr. Hale, and all you have to do is ask him. He'll tell you about those great athletic days, quarterback at Choctawhatchee High School, but more specifically as it pertains to the school district. A teacher at Choctawhatchee High School, assistant principal at Choctawhatchee High School, then principal of Meigs Middle School, principal of Choctawhatchee High School, and then assistant superintendent of human resources. And I'll just say, because we do have a recognition for him this evening, you talk about a person who absolutely has a heart for students, a person who absolutely has a heart for those who are working in this school district, a person who loves to be innovative and creative, and I'll say a person who loves to write. And so when you look at Dr. Hale and the impact that he has had across this school district, from teacher to administrator and to district leadership, for me, in my time with you, just could not have been more proud and honored to work alongside you. And those who have worked with you at schools and those within your department, I know echo the same. And we will not be the same school district without you. And that's just factual, but just appreciate everything you do. And like we've spoken before at the retirement ceremony, that was more quaint. Don't want to get emotional, so I'll just stop there. And I do have something that I'm going to read in a little bit, but I'm going to turn it over to our school board who might have some words to say about you as well.
Okay, we want to start, okay? Mr. Heinle?
I have nothing. No, I'm joking. No, Dr. Hale, when I first came here, about a year and a half ago, I met Dr. Hale, and very professional, very dynamic would be a word that describes Dr. Hale. But he knew that he had a target date he was going to retire. He didn't reveal it then, but he had goals set up all the way to the end. And to talk about a professional, he never got the short timer disease. He worked and solid. He made sure his replacement, everything, very consummate professional. And I appreciate that in you. And good luck in your retirement. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
All right, Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Hale, I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I've only been on the board for about a year, but as soon as I got here, one of the most important connections I've made with the administration was actually you, Dr. Hale. This organization that we call the school district, we think about it in a lot of sort of different ways, but I think the thing that matters the most is we're just a human organization. We're people. We have over 3,000 employees, and without the people, we don't really have anything other than our buildings, I suppose. And the connection our community has with the school district is not necessarily with the brick and mortar of a school, it's the people inside of it. And to be the assistant superintendent in charge of human resources, there's no greater responsibility. As a business owner myself, with far fewer employees, I recognize that the human capital, that human resource really is the most valuable resource in any organization, and it does take a lot of professionalism and expertise to manage effectively, put the people where they're supposed to be, and get their best out of them for the benefit of the organization, which is really what we're talking about here is the best for our students. I can't say how much of a consummate professional you've been during my period of a short tenure, and how much I've appreciated that I could always call on you whenever I needed it. And thank you for that availability. We're going to miss you. I know, Ms. Maxey, you're going to do a great job, but Dr. Hale, tonight I got to tell you we'll miss you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Bryant?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Hale, it has been an honor and a pleasure to get to know you. I remember after I was first elected back in 2016, I made my way down to the southern part of the county because I just honestly didn't know a lot of y'all down there. And going from one CHS to the other CHS, I definitely saw, a big difference there. But what I did see was a leader who had a passion not only for the school, but for the community and the students that were there, the teachers. And over the years, of course, we've been professionally acquainted, but also we've become friends over the years. And I know anytime I had a question, a comment, or anything regarding human resources, I could call you and you would pick up right away, but then you would call me if you needed me, and I just knew that you would be there for, to answer my questions. And I agree with what Parker said. This, with the human element in society today, to treat people with dignity and respect, it starts at the human resource level there, and being able to offer all the services that we have to show our employees how much we do appreciate them. And but your leadership has definitely one that I've appreciated and admired. I too, like Mr. Heinley down there, I'm somewhat retired, so if you need any pointers or anything like that. But I have a bet. I wonder if you're going to be one of those people who retire from the school district, and in 6 months, we'll see you back in the schools. Are we going to see that? But Dr. Hale, Gretchen, congratulations. Thank you. Ms. Maxey, good luck in your position, too.
Okay, Dr. White?
Well, one of the things about going last is everybody said everything, and certainly I echo what they had to say, but I do have just a couple of comments. And first of all, Dr. Hale, congratulations. You've had a stellar career. You did so much for students and parents and employees and really the entire school district. And I had the pleasure of watching your success since you were a very young man. Mr. Chambers spoke about that some. I guess I've known you and your family and your mom and your dad and everybody else for as long as it goes back to the Little League days in Shalimar when you were a star there as well. Your mom, Nancy Hale, taught our son how to read as his first grade teacher, and she was a highly esteemed resource teacher in our district. And so I'll just conclude by saying, great family, good job, and proud of you.
Okay, so I get now. I gotta get where I can see him. So Lee, I started thinking about, and for the audience, I've known Dr. Hale since he was a teenager. I started thinking about all the different relationships we've had over the years in our working. So it started out when you came to Choctaw. I was a pretty young teacher then, and you were a student, and although you were not in my class, you're just one of those kinds of students, or were that kind of student that everybody knew. Not to mention my relationship with your mom. She was a reading teacher, and I was an English teacher. So saw your great success as a high school student. And then when you came back to teach at Choctaw, we became colleagues. And what's neat is that none of this was ever really orchestrated at all. It just happened to be. So you became a colleague. And then not only were we working in the same school, but we had the night school program that you took over, and we worked in that, and I guess technically you were my boss, and I let you pretend you could be that, right? And then we worked on some professional things together with the national board. I talked you into doing that, and we got that, and that was kind of neat. Then you became an assistant principal, and I was still there working with you. And then, of course, you left for MEX. And then when you came back to Choctaw, it actually ended up being my retirement year as a classroom teacher. And again, I let you pretend to be the boss of me, and that was great. And we did a lot of great things together there at the Big Green. And then from that point, you were still at Choctaw, and I was fortunate to be elected a school board member. And it wasn't but a year or so after that, you changed to this position here. So we've had all that intertwined. And so it's, you are a winner at life. And anything I've seen you do from the time you were about 14 to now, you've been successful. And I know that you're just going to keep on that path. I've been grateful to get to be a part of it. And I'm excited to see what happens in your future. Best of luck to you.
So if you do me a favor really quickly, those of you who are in red, push your button. And because you bleed green, you see all the green dots out here, right?
Yeah.
You appreciate that. Now, Mr. Bryant's turns back to red. That's all right. And I'm just going to read this, and then you'll come up, and you might want to share some words, and then we'll come on down with you for a second, all right? So in grateful recognition of the leadership, the dedication, and the achievements of Dr. Lee Hale, admired and respected, 30 years of distinguished service to Okaloosa schools, presented with respect and the highest esteem by myself and the Okaloosa County School Board this January 12th, 2026. And we just say congratulations.
Well, I very much appreciate that. And this big crowd that came out to see me tonight, I really appreciate that as well. But I will say, thank you very much for the recognition. Thank you for the words. Very much appreciated. I'm going to tell you, it has really been a fun 30 years. It really has. I've got to meet a lot of cool people. I've got to do a lot of cool things. We've got to make big change and watch kids grow and just kind of watch these students be who they can be. 30 years worth of kids. It's just really cool when you think about it. When you get to spend an entire lifetime and never graduate, I mean, that is an amazing thing. And I will just, the one thing that I will say about being a student here in Okaloosa County, it seems like the older I get, the better I was. I mean, I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the words, but I remember myself as being just a little bitty guy that was the quarterback because there were no other quarterbacks. I mean, I'm a realist about that. But in terms of the 30-year career, I'm just going to acknowledge that there is not one thing that any of us can do by ourselves. It takes a lot of God's grace to get through 30 years of anything, especially working in a public school district. And the successes that I was able to be a part of, I will look back on fondly. There are just so many people, though, that propped me up along the way, identified me as either, I was not a teacher until my mom said, hey, you need to be a teacher. And Mr. Bowens called me that first year and gave me my first job. I owe a debt of gratitude to him. It was not until Cindy Gates told me, hey, you really need to be an administrator, that I ever considered that, so I owe her a debt of gratitude. And then the day when Mr. Chambers walked into my office at Choctaw and said, hey, have you ever thought about human resources? And I about fainted. But it was him identifying that in me that was able to kind of facilitate that path for me too. So a debt of gratitude to you, sir, and to each of you on the school board. It's been really, really, I keep using the word cool because that's the word that you think of when you don't have a great vocabulary that you're working from right now. But just the individual relationships with each one of you as we've gone through very, very tough decisions, very, very tough things. I mean, my hat's off to you guys. You have hard decisions to make all the time, and you make them. You make them without emotion. You make them based on data. You make them when they're not popular, and you always do what's best for the district. And so thank you for that. I just want to say some thanks. You know, the recognition to you guys and your words, Mr. Chambers, certainly. Mr. McGinnis, it's been awesome working with you for these 6 years as this assistant superintendent, but long before that, just as colleagues and friends. Let's see, the first group of thanks is to the thousands and thousands of students that tolerated me, listened to me, gave me whatever amount of attention that they felt they could give me at that time, but I felt like we were partners along the way. The students are really what I will miss the most. I want to say, you know, thanks to the Meggs family. Carla Hunt showed up today. Thank you for showing up. That was awesome. They grew me up as a principal. They really did. Dr. White, you know, great faculty there. And you set the table for me before I got there, so thanks for that. The Choctaw family continues to always be the ones that just prop me up from the beginning as a student, then as a teacher, then as an assistant principal, and then finally as a principal. Great school, huge debt of gratitude. I was able to work with a lot of great APs over the years. I can't name them all because it seemed like I had a different AP crew every single year, but every single year I had the best one. I had the best team every single year, and they took care of me, and I appreciate that. I was able to survive because of people like Catherine McInnes, Molly Berry, Mandy Jeter, Amanda Donaldson. They were really the bosses. My assistants were always really the bosses. They took care of me, and they really did. I want to give some specific kudos to the HR team. Lindsay, they're in great hands. And Lindsay was really running HR this whole time. I don't know if you guys knew that, but she really was. And now she just gets the title, and she deserves that. But the HR team is fantastic. You want to talk about consummate professionals? Every one of them. Every one of them. You know, I mentioned my mom said I needed to be a teacher, but my parents have always been my biggest fans. And then there's my wife, Gretchen, and my kids, Brett and Eve. They put up with a lot. A school teacher, a school administrator, and a district administrator, it takes a really strong family to put up with that. And so besides all that, I'm just very, very grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the green microphones. Yeah, take that.
I'm on bottom middle today. I've been fine. I found a step I'm gonna get. I got one.
Get you a milk crate. They'll give you a whole foot.
And risk management would be all about that.
Just don't, you just ask for forgiveness out of that's what I would do. That was a good idea.
Give her a rolling chair.
Sorry, I can't help this time, Debbie.
Perfect, right there. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple, so just keep smiling. And just smile. One more. Got it. Perfect, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, by time, we need to go to our public hearing, but we're doing the presentation for that? Yeah. Okay, so, Mr. Chambers? No. Okay, all right. All right, so board members, if you will go on down to our public hearing, 15.1. Yep, okay. All right, so this is a public hearing in accordance with statutory requirements under statute 1001.42, parentheses 4, parentheses F2, for the Florida statutes regarding school start times. And this is presented by Mr. Grant Meyer, Assistant Superintendent, Operational Services.
And our speakers tonight will have 3 minutes, and I would like to remind you all the board has a protocol for speakers, and we would ask that you be recognized by the chairman to speak, and we would ask you state your name and address for our record when you begin speaking. Concerns discussed tonight should be related to educational issues in the school district, and items pertaining to personnel matters under the responsibility of the superintendent are not routinely heard here by the school board. So with that, Madam Chair, you will see if you have any cards. If not, see if there's anyone else here to speak on this matter.
Okay, is there any cards on the public hearing piece? No. Okay,
I think Dr.
Oh,
Keith has one.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll just call him. All right, come on up. And when you come up, if you'll turn on the microphone, state your name and perhaps your position for the record, please.
Okay. I'm Lynn Keefe, I'm a pediatrician. My address is right down the street on College Boulevard, Lynn Keefe Pediatrics. All right, start the clock now. Okay, so my name is Lynn Keefe, thank you for listening. I'm here, my number one role as a pediatrician is keeping kids healthy and educating children and this district on the importance of students' health as it relates to their sleep. Kids who get inadequate sleep, 9 to 10 hours a night, adolescent sleep is important for their health. For over 2 decades, I've been talking to you all, providing research. You've heard about it, about how to keep kids' brains and bodies healthy. So I welcome anyone who wants to discuss that. I hope you agree. If you have data that says sleep deprivation is healthy for kids, I'd love to talk to you. But I think we can all agree that lack of sleep is not healthy for our kids. I listened very carefully to Mr. Meyer's reasons for why this district is deciding that changing school start time is a can't do. These are the same things I've heard for 20 years. Nothing was new. And I'm too old and too knowledgeable in this topic to play whack-a-mole with those issues. I would like to bring new data and a way to look at this so that we can go forward to make changes for healthier schools. I'm sure each of you is aware about sleep for adults. It's the hot topic. Your doctor is going to prescribe you sleep supplements, sleep apps for adults to get 8 hours. Well, if the data on adolescent sleep in kids was a 5 out of 5 for the past 20 years, it was 5 out of 10, now it's a 10 out of 10. The data that has exploded regarding kids' brains and health and the damage to that's irreversible when they don't get enough sleep is there. And our earliest start times continues to harm the kids in our community. So if you consider the damage done to you, adult sleep, you get cranky, you get dementia, less sex drive, obesity, heart disease, all these things that you are as a person is compromised when you don't get sleep. So just take that risk and double it for our kids, because kids are special, and that's why I'm here to help get our kids into a healthy school environment. This morning you talked about Mission Possible. I like that. Let's do the Mission Possible and take this and do what's right. We did it for the safety of the schools with the resource officers and the fences. Let's do it for the health of our kids with the change to start times. It's just so very important. A few seconds. So I want to be a partner in it. I see this in my practice, and I'll just stop by saying, like, my late son Patrick said, let's do this. Let's do this. It's time. The Chinese calendar says it's the year of change. Let's do this. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keefe. Thank you. Do we have others on this topic? Okay. All right. Okay, so board members, do you have, well, we'll go ahead and make a motion to,
No motions.
what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, because we're not making a change. Thank you. All right. Board members, any other comments that you want to make?
Madam Chair, I mean, I'm interested in this topic. I will admit I'm a bit of a neophyte and perhaps a little bit naive, but I do think that there is a lot of science undergirding the reason why our young people, especially our high school students, might be deprived of some very necessary sleep by the logistics of why we get them to be the first schools opening every day. The classes, we've got 7 periods in a day. First period starts somewhere around 7 a.m. I was a swimmer, and I remember how exhausted I was going through high school. I don't know if it necessarily ruined me, but it definitely impacted me, because with athletics and things of that nature, I certainly was burning the candle at both ends for a very long 4 years with the nature of the extracurricular. So maybe this is an opportunity to talk about it in earnest in a public way, because I do recognize that we have logistical issues with the nature of our transportation. I do know that there's, you can't, most of our lives are already molded around the system that we have. So I just will toss it out there. I'm interested in having a further discussion on it, but I know I'm only one member, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I will also say that one thing that's happened over the time, and I know Dr. Keefe said she'd come in for about 20 years, is we have adapted on a high school level the option for students to take a no class, or maybe even a couple in the morning, so that particularly students that find it particularly challenging to come in the morning, they can come in late, and that does give them that option to at least make it to, say, 8 o'clock or maybe even later. So while that doesn't totally solve the exact issue that Dr. Keefe, it is one step that is trying to help the situation, in my mind.
Well, first of all, I would say do appreciate what you've done literally over the last 2 decades. And you and I have had several conversations. I think we both had honest conversations. And the piece that I would say, just for those who are here who may not know, there was a state statute that was created that in essence said that high school would start no earlier than 9 and middle school would start no earlier than 8:30. And that created, I'll just say, a lot of banter across the state in terms of the implementation of that, and for some who piloted that early. Based on that feedback, there was a, I'll call it a statute amendment that then said that school districts across the state of Florida have the ability to go through a process. If they go through a process, they have the ability to keep start times where they are. So we are right now going through that process. Dr. Keefe and I have spoken within the last year. I can't remember exactly when that date was. Even gave me a book, which I appreciate. I'd not cover to cover, but did look through the book. But just appreciate that. And let's just say hypothetically we were to make an adjustment and that high school was going to start no earlier than 9. In essence, that would mean high school would start later than 9. Middle school would start a little later than 8:30, and elementary would then start earlier, and that's just one of the concerns. I'll just say that, but right now we are going through the statutory process as defined in law.
Okay, thank you.
Can we ask questions?
Certainly, yes, come on up.
I can speak loudly.
Okay.
Do we need to get her to identify herself? If you don't mind, if you could please just give us your name and what city you're in.
Beth Bayer, I live in Shalimar, mom of a kindergartner.
Okay.
I was just wondering if there are any examples of school districts that have implemented this and have seen it successful. I have not looked into it, so I don't know. I don't know if you guys have that information, and if there are, what resources do they have that we do not, that make us look at this as not a mission impossible? Is that what?
Mission Possible.
Possible, yeah.
Or- yeah, what different, one, is there are there success stories? And two, what's the difference between them and us that make us, because I'm under the impression we're on a no-go for this.
Good question, okay.
So I do not have the exact school districts across the state that have changed their high schools, their middle schools, and their elementary school start times based on statute. What I will say is it's different for districts. One of the things that we have here is a 3-tiered bus system. That's just one aspect of it. And in a 3-tiered bus system, buses go out, and they come back and pick up the next group, and then so forth. And so they'll do that 3 times in the morning, they'll do that 3 times in the afternoon. When you have that tiered bus system, it also helps dictate the start times. Hypothetically, if we are able to go to 2 tiers, which 2 tiers means we'd have additional bus drivers. Right now, it's very hard to hire bus drivers. We have absolutely fantastic ones, but we're about 20 or so bus drivers short. And this is a phenomenon across the state of Florida with bus drivers being short. So we'd have to hire more bus drivers. The likelihood is purchase more school buses as well. Also to then go to this, and I'll just say somebody's going to have to start on the earlier tier unless you do go to 2 tiers. And again, you'd have to have those things in place. But without those things in place, some level is going to have to start early. And in this case, if law is 8:30 and 9 at the earliest, which again, 8:30 and 9 would not be the times, they'd be a little bit later than that. That means that our elementary students would be on that front tier. In all transparency, in some situations, we do have some elementary students who do go early, but not as a whole. We have discussed this in the past in greater detail. I'll say where we currently are today, not as much of an appetite, but we're still going through this process. We do talk to students, and I know Dr. Keith, whom I completely respect and admire, would say it's not necessarily a student decision, but still in our town halls, we have spoken to students every year, almost to a 1. They like to keep it as is. Work schedules for students, after school activity for students is a piece. In our school system at the high school, we have a 7-period day. And we have many students right now who choose not to have a first period, which means they can start their high school at approximately 7:50. We have some who choose not to have first and second period, which means they're starting around 8:40. So there's systems in place. I do understand that Dr. Keith and others, when you look at what they're looking at, they would say that that's not necessarily acceptable, and I mean that in the most respectful way, that it should be something that's changed for everybody. There's systems in place to allow students to start later, but these are just all the dynamics that are also wrapped around this topic.
Yeah. Thank you. And one final question, you said you weren't aware of other districts that have successfully implemented it. Is it a correct assumption that we are in contact or looking to see what other districts are doing and if they're successful?
So I don't want to give the impression at all that I'm saying that others haven't done it successfully. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I can't give you a specific.
Meg.
Where we currently are today, we are not asking that question.
Is that something I could request that we do? That we communicate with the other school districts?
You absolutely have the ability to request that, absolutely. And again, I say it that way, and we can reach out to other districts just to see. But again, if their dynamics don't fit our dynamics in terms of tiered systems, that's just a real reality. To go to this model, it'd be very difficult to do a 3-tier system unless we're willing to put elementary students at the earliest pickup times.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, so we're going to move back up. Yep, to number 4. All right. Okay, board members, we're at 4.1. Appointment of Assistant Principal 2, 10-month for Northwood Elementary School, recommended by Superintendent Chambers. Mr. Chambers?
Thank you, Madam Chair, School Board. I bring before you Ms. Haley Moore. Mrs. Moore was born and raised in Crestview, Florida, where the last 4 generations of her family graduated from Crestview High School. She graduated from the class of 2013 and went on to earn her bachelor's degree in project management from Northwest Florida State College in 2016. Mrs. Moore later earned her degree in educational leadership from the University of West Florida. Throughout her career, she's had the opportunity to teach and support students at Riverside, Walker, Shoal River, while gaining valuable experience in diverse school communities. Her background in project management, along with her educational leadership training, allows her to approach teaching and school operations with strong organizational skills, planning, and a student-centered mindset. Mrs. Moore is happily married and is a proud parent of their daughter, Hattie, who is also a member of the Okaloosa County School District. And with that, I give you Mrs. Moore.
Okay, all right, board members, I will need a motion to accept Mrs. Moore.
Madam Chair, I'll be happy to make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bryan, I need a second. Second by Mr. Destin. Any other comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 5-0. Mrs. Moore?
Good evening. I want to start by expressing my gratitude to God for this opportunity and for His guidance throughout my journey so far. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thank you to Mr. Chambers for believing in me and allowing me to take on this role. It is truly a privilege to serve underneath your leadership. Additionally, I want to thank each of you school board members for your unwavering commitment to our schools. I am genuinely grateful for this opportunity to serve students, staff, and community in this capacity. To my husband, Veda, and my daughter, Hattie, thank you for your patience, love, and unwavering support during the late nights, extended study sessions, and many sacrifices I have made and will continue to make as I take on this new role. Veda, you have been my rock, my constant encourager, and my steady support. Hattie, you remind me every day why we do what we do, and education truly matters. There are so many of you to thank personally, but to my family, friends, mentors, and Riverside team, your support, love, encouragement have meant the world to me. This achievement would not have been possible without all of you by my side. To my new Northwood family, I am honored to join such a dedicated community. I am grateful for this incredible opportunity and am excited about this transition as I become a Northwood Cougar. Thank you.
Those from Northwood, if you want to come forward.
And family, if there's any family that wants to come up.
Yeah. Between the two podiums, that would be fabulous. So we're gonna have to make a bunch of.
squeeze in and make different rows.
You want Graham, right? Come here, Graham. Okay. Huh? Ouch.
I'm gonna take a couple here, and then I'm gonna try to take a couple from that pocket.
Get in the window.
Alright, so, hopefully everybody can see me, just keep smiling. I'm gonna take a bunch, because I'm gonna sleep. Okay, here we go. Let me see. One more. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to take a recess. So if you desire to exit, no hard feelings, you're welcome to do that. And then we'll come back into session, okay? All right, we need to get started again. If I could ask you to please take your seat or exit quickly and we'll move along. All right, at this time, Mr. Chambers, I believe you have a presentation that you're going to have your staff make.
Yes, ma'am. And first of all, I just want to say to those who are here in support of Mary Esther Elementary, those who are here in support of Longwood Elementary, do want to share with each and every one of you that truly we're grateful that you're here. This is a topic that we wish, I'll speak for myself, and I know our school board members will also have words, that we wish we weren't here to talk about. And I'll just make it just a little bit personal in terms of my first administrative position was principal of Longwood Elementary. And it's a school that's dear to me. And many others have that same sentiment about Mary Esther Elementary. And I do want to thank Mayor Stein for being here, for those of the city council, the city manager, who are here as well. And I know that we'll hear from many of you this evening. And I do want you to know, those who are here to speak, we're glad you're here to speak. I do want to start off with this quote, and this right here, when you look at closing a school, which is a proposal, is never just about a building. It's about a community, a sense of home, and the families and students whose lives have been shaped within those walls. And I just want to start off by saying that because this is not easy. Earlier, when Dr. Hale retired, I posed the question or made the statement that there's many of us who've been in this school district from the very start of our careers. I'm one of them, and we have folks up here as well. And then, of course, those of you who work at Mary Esther or work at Longwood, some of you have been there your entire careers, and some of you who are here this evening attended Mary Esther. Though you're an adult, you attended Mary Esther as a student. And none of that is to be glossed over. But I just wanted to say that at the very beginning. And this is not in my mindset in any way, shape, or form. Those who come to speak or who are against my proposal, I don't take that as a negative. One of the things that we talked about is the fact that what makes me proud is the fact that we have folks who are galvanizing around public schools. And that's something that I appreciate. I do want to say just a few things, and then we're going to have a presentation. And this presentation I gave in December. I'm going to start some of that today, and then Mr. Spolsky, one of our assistant superintendents over this area, is going to speak on it as well. I want to start off by saying the proposal of why we're here, and there is a proposal to close 2 schools, Longwood and Mary Esther, and to rezone the south end of our county. And in quite honesty, it's for the long-term health of the school district, which I'm going to go into and what Mr. Spolsky will go into as well. And you look at some of the key drivers of this. One of the first things at a minimum, if you look back at this past budget, many of you know right now this past budget was extremely difficult. Over the last 2 years, we have adjusted our budget over $22 million. Okaloosa is not alone in that. It's been a budget challenge across the state right now. You look at what's happening in this current budget session, in the next budget session, of what's being told to us is that the next 2 budget sessions will be even more challenging than the last 2. And we're already preparing for that. Then you look at declining enrollment, which is real, which you'll see. The south end of the county at the elementary level, we've gone down over 1,200 students in the last decade, about a 19% drop in enrollment. Then you look at expanded school choice, and we could spend hours on this. Expanded school choice, there's many options. And that's something that we have to say to ourselves as a school district. We have to understand that there's options now. There's options to go homeschool and receive $9,000. There's options to go to private school and receive $9,000. There's options to go to a micro school and receive $9,000. Family empowerment scholarships are the most popular one, but there's others. There's a PEP scholarship as well. In Okaloosa County, 5,000 families are choosing a scholarship. Of those 5,000, 3,500 have never attended Okaloosa Public Schools. I want you to think about that. 3,500 have never attended Okaloosa schools. And for simple math for myself, let's just say that that was 3,000. That's $27 million that comes into our county and then flows right back out. So when you look at 5,000, that's $45 million coming in and in essence going right out. And just imagine a world right now where that 45 million or that 20 million for another school district or that 100 million for another school district, if even a portion of that was coming to public schools, what these budgets would look like. And I'll just say specifically for Okaloosa County. So that is a major challenge. And then you look at just inflation or rising costs. And when you have, what you're going to see in a second, when you have budgets that are not increasing to the level of cost of living, that creates a dynamic. And again, it's not just Okaloosa. These are dynamics that are happening across the state of Florida right now. So then you go to just some specifics, and these are just realities of our budget. If you look at the current school year that we're in, and I'm not going to get too deep, but a base student allocation is a big piece of how we're funded. We received an additional $41.62 this year. The previous year, it was about $191. It decreased to $41.62. So $41.62 of an increase of a base student allocation for every student in Okaloosa County. Then you look at, so let's break that down. When you look at the state mandated increase in retirement, that's already $33 per student. Then you go to property insurance, that's mandated, that's $7.94 per student. Then you go to employee raises. We were able to give a 1% raise, which for the teachers and the ed support professionals and the administrators in the school district, it's a disservice. That's the money that's coming to us. When you look at that, that's another $67. So we started with $41 of an increase to the base student allocation. And when you do just those things, and that doesn't get into supplies and other things, that's a deficit of $66.85 right off the bat. Then you look at, let's just say, for example, if we were just to break even with the increase that's needed to fund education here in Okaloosa, and every school district has their own number. When you look at us, the state mandated increase, again, that's $33. The property insurance, and then we put in there what the minimum should be. Not what we should do, what the minimum should be is we should give our employees a cost of living increase. That would be an additional $202 needed to the base student allocation. Then you come down, our textbooks. We have to adopt new textbooks every year. We get about a $2.5 million allocation. Some of that goes to charter schools. What's remained is about $1.8 million. A textbook allocation costs about $5 million. This year's ELA textbook adoption will cost about $6 million. That's a shortfall of another 66. And in our SRO contract of where we currently are, that's about $33. So just to break even, we would need $342 approximately just to break even in funding. We're receiving $41.62. Next year is supposed to be worse. The year after is supposed to be worse. I say all that because when you're getting this information, you have to make decisions. And you have to be able to be prepared to keep a school district going forward. And you have to be able to make tough decisions. I feel for this board because I have to bring to them some tough decisions that they're going to be scrutinized on. And this is my proposal based on going through all of the data. Then you look at us, okay? So cost-saving measures prior to today's proposal. So prior to today's proposal, I shared with you a second ago, over the last 2 years, about $22 million we've had to adjust. And we've had to look at our operating expenditures across the entire school district, which we've reduced. We've had to restructure our district department. And again, I'm just using plain speak right now. And there are some folks who say, look at all those people up at the district office. If you actually analyze that, you'd realize that there are places of like school districts where you would go, Change to our self-insured medical insurance. We've made changes there. We've restructured school staffing and adjusted classroom instructional positions already due to the decline in enrollment. And then we've also looked at our coaching program as well, which is like a shot to my heart. So we've already had to do an absolute number of things, and these are just a few of the things that we've had to do. Then you look at, and I get these questions, and I understand the questions because school finance is not easy. School finance is complex. And why are you building a new school and not paying teachers? Why are you doing a turf field and not paying teachers? Why are you building a classroom addition and not paying teachers or saving our schools? There's different pots of money in the school district. You have general dollars, you have capital dollars, you have food service dollars, you have transportation dollars, and the list goes on, and you can only spend the dollars on exactly what state statute says that you can spend the dollars on. And that's it. You cannot spend it on what you say. You cannot spend it on anything other than that. We have audits. Those audits dictate how exactly dollars are expended. And each year, thanks to our CFO over here, our audits go very well. But when you look at capital, which again, some of the questions that I see, some of the things I see on social media, capital is for new construction. It's for a new school building. It's for classroom additions. It's for air conditionings. It's for roofs. It's for technology. It's for buses. It's for maintenance. There are some allowances where on personnel, you can do some certain things for maintenance people, but maintenance people / bus people only. That's about $45 million. All of that has to go to the capital side of the house. The half-cent sales tax, which brings in approximately another $29 million. That can only go towards exactly what each school's half-cent sales tax list said that it was going to be for. And those are capital projects. That's all that those dollars can be spent for. Then you go to the general side, which is our flexible dollars. Approximately 85% of those dollars go to people. Approximately 85% of those dollars go to people. Positions, benefits, contracts, salary, supplies, operating expenses, utilities, those are general dollars. Going back to the capital. Some of the questions have been, well, why are you doing this project or doing this project? Just as a reminder, before the half-cent sales tax, we were about 20 to 25 years behind in facilities. We used to say we're an A school district. We have strong athletics, we have strong arts, but our facilities, they do not meet the level of excellence of what our students and our employees are doing. Now we're able to, for the first time, not have the oldest bus fleet in the state of Florida. We're not number one anymore in that area. We're able to build a new school for the first time since the mid-2000s. We're able to do classroom additions. We're able to replace roofs, not just fix them. We're able to do technology. We're able to fix middle school bathrooms. And if any of you have been there, you know that that's important. The number of things that we're now able to do. I say all the time when I go out and speak, we're not a perfect school district. We're not. But I think that we have people who absolutely strive to do their best for kids. We have a board who's committed to the budget and to students and our employees and myself as well. This is not a place that we want to be in and have a packed house for this topic. For this topic. Those who know me understand my heart, and those who know these school board members know the same. Can somebody push this? This right here is just a reality. Last school year, across the state of Florida, 25 schools closed. This year, there's already 50 either closings that have already been determined or being proposed. There's another 4 school districts, to include ours, that will be added to this list. When you look at where we are, when it comes to some of the factors that I've talked about, this is the reality of where we are. And the last thing I'll say before Mr. Spolsky comes up is just reiterating, at least in my mind, this is not a superintendent versus Mary Esther staff or versus Longwood staff. This is not the school board, myself, versus the city of Mary Esther or those who are supporting keeping the school open. I'm actually happy that that's what you're doing because you love your school and love the school district. Where I sit, sometimes you have to make tough decisions, and trust me, I don't go to sleep and go, I can't wait to make this tough decision. This is not an easy thing. Mr. Spolsky?
Thank you, sir. School Board, Madam Chair, I'm here tonight to provide some information and some slides. Some of these slides you have seen, but I think it's important based on the sensitivity and the nature of these topics that we do a review of where we're currently at. I will also along the way bring up Ms. Ross to help us with the resolution that is on the consent agenda for these two topics. It includes 3 resolutions. So first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 318. Senator Don Gates filed Senate Bill 318, which makes various changes to school funding statutes to increase not only transparency and efficiency, but specifically to addresses the issues that were found by the Audit General in the funding report. So note, 67 school districts, 67 superintendents across our state, and 45 of these districts are struggling with these losses. So it supports that slide that our superintendent just showed up there, that many small, medium, and even large districts are all struggling with these issues. Senate Bill 318 also targets the weaknesses within the system, specifically the funding system, while aiming to ensure consistency and fairness among school choice programs for the families. It increases tracking of those students, the financial accountability, also along with the prediction of enrollment. Senate Bill 318 is, let's say, a suggestion by Senator Gates, who knows the school systems well, served as a superintendent here in our district, and is well respected in the political circles, but actually moves the Family Empowerment Scholarship funding into its own categorical within the FEFB base allocation. As Superintendent Chambers said, funding is very complex in the school business. Senate Bill 318, according to the Auditor General, made this even worse in terms of the Family Empowerment Scholarship. So Senator Gates crafted Senate Bill 318 to try to re-engineer the Family Empowerment Scholarship system. Yes, sir.
One thing I would say to those who are here and those who are listening is we go through legislative priorities. And some say, do you speak to your local legislators, which we absolutely do. One of our legislative priorities is to fix the Family Empowerment Scholarship program. And what I mean by that is it's great for families to have choice. We support that. But if the program is impacting school districts the way that it's impacting us, that's where we would like to see some change. Senator Gates' proposal does just that. It starts to get some change. The other piece that I do want to say as well, there's a state law that's out there as well that basically says if you have one classroom, if you have 3 classrooms, if you have 10 classrooms that are open, a charter school can come into your school. They take over the 1, 5, 10 classrooms. They do not pay for it. We have to pay for it. We have to fund it.
Thank you, sir. I will say it is important that the school districts are coming together to try to change a lot of this funding formula. This Senate Bill 318, if you look under transparency and accountability there, actually adds a lot of layers to try to help shift this formula that's not working for our current school districts. Everything from audits to voucher payment receipts, not only quarterly but monthly, all of these different things that have been going on with empowerment scholarships. So let's look specifically at really what we were trying to say with that. We have the Okaloosa County School District. For many years, we probably have that A+ district in the middle of our pillars there. We do everything we can do to prop up our employees and our students as they travel through their journeys. But as we have said at other board meetings and workshops, the enrollment actually drives a lot of those funding formulas that Superintendent Chambers shared with us. Each student earns an FTE, which equates to money through a base student allocation. So if we look specifically at these areas throughout our county, you have heard Superintendent Chambers and myself talk about we have a tale of 2 regions, specifically divided by the range north of the Shoal River, the north end, all of that area in the middle of the range. Then we have Central, Niceville, and then we have South and Fort Walton. MGT, our mapping, geo-mapping data partners that have worked with us for many years, our MIS team, and other analysts helped us put together these numbers. And if we look at the Fort Walton area schools, the elementary, the middle, and the high schools, you can see all of those went through decreases. So those Fort Walton area do include, MGT did the study, includes all of those elementary schools, 2 of them which we are speaking to tonight. I think it's very interesting when you analyze the data that these decrease, specifically with the Family Empowerment Scholarship and the other choice options, we have experienced. The state has also supported that trend, that we're seeing this more in elementary schools than in the secondary schools, the middle and the high. The Niceville area, specifically to Central. You can see there, even in an area in middle and high school, where since 2014-15 to now, they've had increases in middle and in high, but they also demonstrated a decrease in elementary. And if we look at the south end, notice the last 3 or 4 years is a pretty steep trend. In the central area, it's a pretty steep trend. Destin, a separate study area done by our MGT partners, is showing a little increase in elementary, that's healthy, and a larger increase in middle school. The north end, as you know, overall, that is expanding up there. When we start seeing retails or supermarkets or other businesses going in up there, affordable housing, we can anticipate that that's going through large growth. And even with the massive growth that we're seeing above the Shoal River, you can see the increase in elementary has been smaller than the middle or the high school enrollments, specifically in the last 2 to 3 years. So these other choice options are very, very important, hot to watch, not only by us, but also by the other districts across the state. Baker and Laurel Hill, a little bit different rural. They have experienced 4% at Baker, Laurel Hill 15% in those areas. And then we look specifically at the maps that are forecasts. So the numbers I just went through with you were historical numbers for the last decade or so. These MGT projections are forecasting frontwards from 26 to 2034. And these numbers are concerning when we look at the tale of 2 regions. These numbers specifically on the slide here focus just on the elementary. An increase of 850 students above the range, central and south showing a decrease. So even though the north end is expecting a K-5 enrollment boom across our whole county, it is masked because the other 3 areas are forecasted or projected to go down. Middle school, same pattern. There are a lot of other factors than school choice that tie into this as well. We have a slide that outlines some of those other key factors. The middle school, if we take a look at the high school, same trend. This sheet here outlines the enrollment as of 12 of 25. I think it's very important that we look at those tale of 2 regions. These numbers here are without VPK. One of our schools that we're referring to today is the smallest. I found it very interesting when Mr. Meyer put our mural out here at our central office outlining the historical pieces when we began our journey when our school district started years and years ago. And there's a date on there that just rang with me a few weeks ago that said in 1972 our enrollment was 27,000, and that was a milestone. And here I am standing before you in January 26, saying just a month ago we revealed 27,000. So it's interesting. I stood in front of this board before saying how I'm 56 years old and I'm the youngest one on my street other than Devin, who just moved in next to me. So it's a tough time for us to go through this. looking for the little ones to come to public school. So what are some of the contributing factors to declining enrollment? Mr. Chambers spoke to the Family Empowerment Scholarships. Mr. Chambers spoke to the $29-30 million that's actually funneling through the FEFP. It's something that we are all having discussions with, one-on-one with our legislators, about how Senate Bill 318 can help us with that down the road. But right now, this scholarship system needs re-engineering. Another contributing factor would be birth rates. I had an opportunity to speak with elected officials. We've talked to a lot of stakeholders. I see this happening all around me. Many of you know that I've been a principal for many years. It's interesting to watch fellow graduates through social media networks on when they are deciding to do some of these things, but the data isn't anecdotal. The data supports that our birth rates not only are down in Florida, they're down across the nation, and specifically, they're going to forecast it to be down more in the South End, in specific zip codes. So I say that because one of the other pieces is the first bullet on this slide. If we know 45 of the 67 are struggling with decline in enrollment, one of the things we have been struggling with in Okaloosa County is affordable housing. So some of the elected officials I've talked to me about apartment complexes or condos or other housing that is going up, and even some of those new housing that's going up are costing $15, $16, $18, $2,300 a month, and it is very difficult for young families to come in.
And I would say on that, because some folks have said, so what is the school district's role there? So we do sit on a council that does talk about affordable housing. We sit on there with individuals such as Nathan Sparks, individuals such as Mr. Corcoran, individuals such as Eglin leadership, Hurlburt leadership. And so this is something that the county commissioners also looking at. So affordable housing, and all of you know from where you live, it's a real thing as well. But it is something that we are trying to be contributing factors to in terms of being part of a solution.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. I want to speak in plain terms for all of us to really understand. There are less young ones living in our area, specifically in the South End. And we are not the only provider, even though, and you've heard me say this, I'll get off on my stump a little bit here. I believe we are the #1 school district in the state of Florida. There are other school districts that may be higher than us at certain things, but when you look at all of the things we do for students in CTE, students that are going on to college, more education, students that are going on to the military, employment, whatever those students do to stick with us through elementary, middle school, and high school, I truly believe that Okaloosa positions them for success. And for years, this is my 32nd year in this school district. I live and breathe this school district, and I spoke to some elected officials that are here with us today about how tough this is for all of us to make these recommendations. But if we are not the only provider of education, and if everyone isn't coming to us, and there's less students to come to us, we unfortunately have to make recommendations that aren't very popular. But it is really difficult for us to just kick this can down the road.
And I would add there, because there might be some folks who in the audience or watching you say, well, then what are you doing about it? Not going to go into great depth right now here with this topic, but you will see things that we will be unveiling to combat enrollment and other factors, especially at the elementary level, but at the secondary level as well.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to call up somebody that I lean on very heavily that works in my MIS department, is actually doing dual roles with our academic and student services now, Mrs. Ross. Because as you know, this is a proposal. Tonight we are here, and this is an odd timing for a presentation within our agenda, but we wanted to make sure that everyone here that came tonight had an opportunity to hear the information from Mr. Chambers, had an opportunity to hear information from myself, and also to hear information from Mrs. Ross. On the agenda, under the 7th spot on the agenda, 7.8 and 7.9, I believe it is, there's Resolution 2601, 02, and 03. And pending this process, as it reveals itself, I cannot stand before you, board, and say we're closing 2 schools without having a solution on how we would take care of teachers, on how we would take care of those students, and how we would take care of those families. That is critical for us to make sure that we present these as a package. And Ms. Ross has done extensive work on the mapping as with the numbers, and it is critical for everyone here to understand that pending tonight's outcome, we have a comprehensive communication plan where we will not only go out to speak with employees, but also equally important to those families and students as it pertains to what services they need to be successful through that pipeline. Ms. Ross?
Thank you, sir. If you'll stay, that would be great. Good evening, Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chair, school board members. So the next section is going to focus on zoning, but not just the lines on the map, and I know that has a lot of attention. That said, I think the most important information that we can provide is how we will responsibly, should the board seek to do so with the recommendations before it, responsibly transition students and families. It's the critical role that we play in zoning the South End at this time. Some of the information you'll see will mimic in scope or sequence what we've done with our Pineview recommendation on the North End. So some of that may seem familiar to you, but obviously the detail is intrinsically focused on the South End. The purpose is extremely focused. It's very targeted. In the least disruptive way, we have focused on rezoning to enroll students that we serve in a way that balances capacity, transportation, and continuity of the educational process. So as you see, we're going to realign school attendance zones with the closing of Mary Esther and Longwood Elementary schools. The priority is to identify those affected families and students and split them to 6 elementary schools in the South End. We explored partial options, so what you'll see here on the timeline is that beginning in the fall, we had an extensive enrollment analysis. We worked with our MGT partner. Some of the audience might know them as School Site Locator or Davis Demographics in the past, so they have had a historical relationship with our school district for the past 20 years. So they have used their data. We have used the receipts of those data in our own internal analysis through MIS, and provided information to the superintendent that has been made available to you via school board workshops. We've done the North End zoning and enrollment updates through October, another update in November, a follow-on update in December before we left. We're here now this evening at this public hearing request, and then we're looking at communications to continue, ultimately culminating on the 23rd of February. And if so proposed and accepted, we would continue our outreach to families for impacted students from March through May of this year with continuity into the fall.
And just as a piece, go back one, just as a piece of this slide right here. Every year we have to make what we call FTE projections. And that's going to dictate, in essence, the number of students who are going to be here with us. This past year, coming into this school year, the state of Florida gives you different models that you can choose. So within that, so we knew coming into the school year, we'd be about 450-ish students down, which of course we planned for, we budgeted for, and so forth. Well, come the start of school, so not only were we the 450 down, we were another 400 plus down as well, so almost 1,000 students in this year. And of course, this isn't just a phenomenon for Okaloosa. This is something that is now occurring, but 1,000 students.
Thank you, sir. As you stated, we did explore a number of options, a number of different models. The recommendation before you is a best practice piece that we put out. So the key takeaway from this next graphic is that the schools on the south end can absorb the additional enrollments while staying safe and operational. So you'll see that capacity, as we've spoken to previously, Mr. Superintendent, capacity is high. It's allowing us some flexibility to continue to focus on schools that have the intake opportunities, but ensuring that there's no decrease in the enrollment that would in any way handicap our performance as a school district.
So staying on this slide right here, so when you look at capacity, so if you go back a few years ago, the vast majority of our schools were either at capacity or over capacity. Where we sit today, that's not the case. So you go to a particular elementary school, 5 classrooms that might be utilized, but not utilized with classroom, teacher, and student. So 5 classrooms of space. Another one, 4 classrooms of space. Another one, 7 classrooms of space. So when you look to do something like this, if you're going to make a decision to recommend closing schools, well, you better have some capacity at other schools. So of course that's analyzed. One of the pieces that's been put out there, so if you're doing this, does that mean now we're going to have class sizes of 30, 32, 34? Are we going to be substantially different than we are currently? That answer is no. In full transparency, are our classes right now a little higher? They are. Today, last year, based on where we are with budgets. In this proposed school closure, there is no thought of now we're taking these numbers even higher and we're making teachers' class sizes much higher than what they are now. It will be right in the area of where we are now if this were to go forward. So we're not looking to make teachers' classes 30, 32, 29, 28 at the elementary level. I think that number right now is approximately in some classes.
Yes, sir. We have tried to use a divisor over the last few years that can save us allocations and save us funding. Each of those different grades have a different contract number that we will be at or under, sir. I will tell you that each of these schools that Ms. Ross has here on the chart have empty classrooms. Some have 1, some have 2, some have 3, some have 6. Because capacity wasn't established over the last few years by the number of classrooms as much as it was by teachers being allocated. So.
And we have a group here, so that's why I'm being very specific with everybody. So we have cafeterias that were cafeterias that are no longer cafeterias. So we've built cafetoriums. And we've purposely started the building of those empty cafeterias to become classrooms in order to have additional capacity. But again, being very honest, when this whole pursuit started, it was to add capacity because the vast majority of our schools were over capacity to be able to provide for that. Now we're in a completely different spot. However, with the proposal of closing 2 schools, these additional classrooms are also important as we continue to, if we make that jump.
Thank you. And I'd like to say, because the allusion was made there, we did work with your departments. We worked coordinated with operations. So we've worked with facilities extensively. We've worked with the Department of Transportation. And we've done the studies necessary to ensure that we're making a recommendation that's in the best practice at those levels as well. I will say also to your point, Mr. Superintendent, a higher utilization tends to be far more sustainable than trying to maintain under-enrolled facilities over the long term. So while the capacity may be high, we've avoided overcrowding, but we've also avoided operating below capacity.
And I do want one clarifying piece, because you heard what I said about if you have empty classrooms, what can happen with charter schools. Our charter schools here in Okaloosa County, absolutely fantastic partners. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about national charters that are coming into school districts across the state of Florida and taking classrooms. Not talking about charter schools here in Okaloosa.
So the maps that you have before you as part of the recommendation are the zones as you see displayed. And I'll just support this with a little bit of oral. The K is for the Kenwood zone, S is for Shalimar in green, W is for Wright in a red color, EP is for Elliott Point in blue, the larger E by itself in purple is for Edwins, and F is for Florosa, and it continues on to the next slide, so I'll advance, as the Florosa zone is extensive. The one last statement that I'll make is that, going back, enrollments are balanced, as I said, and so when we look at the size of zones, those zones are sized as they are, but take into account density in those areas. So while a zone may be sizable in terms of its geographic area, we're trying to accomplish comparable goals of having sized areas that still have an approximate number in terms of student enrollment and population. So I don't want the size of an area to seem like a misnomer. Okay? So communication is critical. This is consistent with a very much similar plan as we rolled out for the North Zone communications. Should the board accept the recommendations, and certainly from this public release moment, we would plan to communicate with schools extensively, both stakeholders as families and employees. We would employ timely communications and direct communications via our centralized webpage, our media posts and follows. We would continue to reach out through our South End Zone at okaloosaschools.com email account, which is a coordinated communication piece with the public. And we will have the school site locator site updated so that it would allow queries for parents and families who have questions as to where their students may attend. So we're trying to wrap the public in a communication strategy that ensures that those who have questions have a place to go, have a resource, have someone that they can communicate with.
And so, on that note, depending on the outcome tonight, I would say to those, especially at Mary Esther Longwood, that communication, in essence, starts. So that would start tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
In terms of communication with the schools. I will say there's been some who have said, well, why haven't you communicated more? Come before the Christmas time, the holiday break, we went out to those two schools first purposely, so nobody else, hopefully, heard, no teacher or employee at Mary Esther heard, or Longwood heard before we shared with them. So we wanted to do that, and then speaking with other folks after that in terms of what's being proposed. But you cannot go out and give additional information prior to the board making whatever occurs tonight.
Yes, sir.
But after tonight, if the board takes action, then you'll see here in a second the extensive communication plan with schools, with parents and families, with the community, in order to give all the information out.
Communication is direct information. Communication would be factually based. Communication would be specific to the party who is asking. Opportunities for questions and engagement implicit. So, pending the board's decision this evening, outreach would continue through the months of January and February. We would continue messaging going forward. As normal, January, controlled open enrollment will open for secondary schools, the North End, and central schools. South End Elementary will not open at that time. The board workshop would convene on February 23rd. We'd have our public hearing, and we would make our request for board approval at that time. And then, should it be adopted, family outreach for impacted students would continue through the months of March through May, and as I said before, continue into the fall to support families and stakeholders.
And before we wrap up this piece, because we do have employees here, so Ms. Maxey, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent and board members. So I want to start by saying the superintendent has instructed me to take care of our employees. And I heard what Mr. Destin said earlier when you were talking about humans. Our employees are our greatest resource. I wholeheartedly believe that. And I just want everyone to understand that the Human Resources Department is going to be walking hand in hand with our employees throughout this entire process. Excuse me, those employees are going to have, that are in good standing, are going to have positions for the 26-27 school year. And the Human Resources team is going to work with those employees. We're going to take their considerations, their needs into consideration, their preferences into consideration when we're looking at those positions for next school year. And to further talk about communication, we are going to send, a Human Resources team is going to go to those schools monthly. So yes, we're going to go this week, but then we are going to continue, assuming this process moves forward, going to those schools monthly. We're going to be live on site in person to answer those questions, provide assurance, and just be assistance as we need to. So I just want to impart to everyone today that the Human Resources, you are not alone. Our employees are not alone as they walk through this. We are going to be with them every step of the way.
Anything further?
Just in closing, sir, for wraparound communications, we have our district website, which is focused on zoning. We have the direct email as well. In any further communications, we'll release all of those additional resources so that we have wraparound services for every stakeholder. That's all I had at this time, sir.
I do, sir. I have a couple things that I think are critical for us is to report to board members and for the public to hear. That is direct communication from myself along with the superintendent to military leaders. Both of these schools are adjacent to two separate bases, so that was critical that I engaged with Hurlburt and the community and their leadership. And I relayed that on behalf of Superintendent Chambers, and then we hosted Eglin leadership as well to come out, and because both of those schools do have military-connected families. All of our schools have military-connected families, so that's critical for us to continue that conduit with those agencies, as they are the largest employer and we're the second largest employer in the area. I also think it's important, if I was professionally working at Mary Esther or Longwood, I would want to know why we chose them. I would be asking that. And I think we tried to paint that picture. This wasn't easy, but due to declining enrollment, geographic location, transportation, all of those facets that are tied into it, along with the predicted enrollment for those areas and those neighborhoods, that's why we chose those areas. So it's not because Longwood is an amazing school, and it's not because of anything they're doing wrong. It's not because of Mary Esther. You want to talk about a tight-knit family. And I know Superintendent Chambers expressed that about the heart and the connectedness of these two schools, and that's tough on all of us.
Let me interrupt you there. And because I've had the question to me, are you closing Mary Esther because they're a C school? First of all, they're not a C school, they're a B school. And secondly, they do an absolutely outstanding job. Are you closing Longwood because they're a C school? Well, they are a C school. Go teach at Longwood. Go work with the students who are there, who are awesome. But what they do each day for those kids is outstanding. So we're not closing or proposing to close anything based on a school's grade, based on students. That's just strictly not the case. The work that those schools do with their students is fantastic.
Thank you, sir. That's all I had. I'll be available for questions or comment.
The last thing I'd say, Madam Chair, before we go to any cards, is I do want to, again, just be very transparent with folks. You may come up before us today and share information, and it may elicit a response. You may have questions that we answer, but there may be questions that we're simply going to jot down. This website right here is going to grow. As we continue to get questions, we're going to add to that website so everything goes out to where everyone can have the same information. But if there's lack of a response or lack of an answer, that's not lack of care.
Okay, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the public comment of section 5. 5.1 will be members of the public desiring to address the school board regarding agenda items. So I have some cards here. So when you come up, pick whichever side, turn on the microphone. Mr. McGinnis will be giving you some timing instructions and some other things. So the first card I have is Chris Stein. If you would come forward, please.
And our speakers tonight will all have 3 minutes each to make your presentation.
Little button. And thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
I'm used to 3 minutes, and there it is. Thank you, school board, for having me to talk tonight. Madam Chairman, I want to start out with, this does not look good. What you've said tonight means, to me, you're closing the schools, okay? Or there's a good potential you are doing this, because you seem to have lots of plans and everything for contingencies and everything else, which I understand where you're at, where you're coming from. Let's do the emotional part first. I was born in Mary Esther. I went to 2nd grade when the school opened in Mary Esther. I was one of the first kids in the school. I was excited because there was air conditioning in the school. I was pretty good about that. It was a great brand new school. It smelled, had that new car smell, that new school smell. Enjoyed it. I've had a lot of firsts in that school. You know, it was a great science. I had a lot of activities they've done. My first paddling was at Mary Esther Elementary School. I got spanked in the 6th grade by Mr. Gordon. I even know the teacher's name. And look at what happened now. I'm a politician. So it must have worked, you know, what can I say? But anyway, I understand your burden and everything, and a lot of people are going to talk about the school not closing. I have a petition, which is on my desk, I'll give it to you later, of over 400 people that don't want the school to be closed. A little bit about Mary Esther, we have 2 items. We used to have 3. Santa Rosa Mall, everybody knows the Santa Rosa Mall isn't what it used to be, okay, with a bulldozer in front right now. So Santa Rosa Mall's out of the way. Mary Esther School was one center point. The other's the library. We're going to keep the library, okay? You guys can't take away our library. But the school going, there's a big chunk of property there, all the way from Hollywood to Highway 98, and you're probably going to dispose of that property. That's where you decide what you're going to do, and then we're going to decide, City Council, the City of Mary Esther, the residents, of what's going to be there, what it's going to be zoned at, what business is going to be there to make the people of Mary Esther like the school. The school left, there's a big opening, a big void, and we're going to try to fill that void. My council has vowed that that's what's probably going to happen, that we're going to, whoever buys the property will have to answer to the school, well, I guess you could say that, answer to the council of what they're going to build there and stuff. So that's an important thing. One thing you talked about a lot tonight was communications, about the teachers, the school board, everything else. Communications with the city over the last 10 years I've been mayor with the school board is not so much, okay? Hardly at all. And I understand why, because you're a school, you're independent, you have your own taxes. We have an independent, we have our own taxes, we got our own thing. This transition, I highly recommend, I've talked to several of you guys to do more communication with the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, the next card is for Jerry Cobb, who's with the City of Mary Esther. And you heard the rules, Mr. Cobb, so I'm sure you're ready for that.
Yes, same rules. Good evening, Chair, Superintendent, members of the board. My name is Jerry Cobb. I'm City Manager of the City of Mary Esther. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask that you not authorize moving forward with the public hearing at this time, and instead allow some space for a conversation before the formal proceedings begin. Mary Astor Elementary served our community for 60 years. When we developed our community vision plan for the city of Mary Astor, we held our main public workshop in the school's cafetorium. About 40 residents gathered to imagine the future of our city. From 2021 to 2023, we developed that vision plan through extensive community engagement. We invited the school district to participate directly. A stakeholder group called Public Services and Education helped shape our vision. The final plan was adopted in late 2023, just over 2 years ago. During that process, our community identified the school as central to our community's character. Residents ranked school safety and access as the city's second highest priority. We identified a new entrance road from Hollywood Boulevard as a goal and stated our intent to work with the district and FDOT to make it happen. The conversation was entirely about making the school better. At that time, no one indicated that enrollment was a threat to the school's future or that a partnership was needed to address it. And this was just a little over 2 years ago. Fast forward to December 2025, I met with district staff and thought we were going to talk about impact fees. I don't know why, but it ended up being about a closure recommendation that had already been prepared. We understand that the district faces budget challenges. We face them as well. But as of today, or I guess tonight now, the city and our residents haven't really understood the factors driving this decision, or certainly the level of urgency behind it. That context hasn't been shared with us, again, until tonight, after a recommendation has already been prepared. We understand you have the authority to make these decisions, but as a community, we're asking for this conversation, an opportunity to understand why this recommendation has come forward, an opportunity to ask questions and provide feedback, an opportunity to explore if there were any city or school policy alternatives that existed to help support our community school. Once you authorize a public hearing, the process takes on its own momentum. I think those of us that work with public hearings understand that. Mary Astor is a city of 4,500 people. If this moves forward, we would become the largest municipality in Okaloosa County without a public school, the only other municipality being Cinco Bayou. A decision of this magnitude deserves a process that matches its weight. So I'm asking you to pause, not to abandon your process, but to expand it. Meet with us, meet with our board. Let's work toward a decision that balances the needs of the district and the needs of our community. If closure is still the answer, at least we faced it together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Kinley Wise. Doesn't matter.
There you go.
Good evening, my name is Kenley Wise, and I work for the District of Okaloosa County. I'm speaking tonight as an educator and a community member who cares deeply about our students' stability and well-being. First, I want to acknowledge the difficult decisions the district is facing. Enrollment shifts, budget constraints, and facility needs are real challenges, and I recognize the complexity behind them. At the same time, I want to share the perspective from inside our classrooms. When a school closure happens, it affects far more than a building. It impacts students' sense of belonging, their academic continuity, and the relationships the relationships they rely on every day. So sorry. Right. Many of our families are already navigating instability, and sudden changes in school placement can compound that stress. As you move forward with this process, I'm asking that we prioritize just 3 things: student stability, minimizing transitions whenever possible, and ensuring students remain with familiar peers and adults. Clear communication. Families and staff need timely, transparent information so they can plan and support their children. Thoughtful placement decisions, considering class sizes, transportation, and the unique needs of each school community. My goal tonight is not to criticize, but to advocate. Our students deserve decisions that center their emotional and academic needs. Our families deserve clarity, and our educators deserve the chance to support students through this transition with the resources and information necessary to do it well. That is all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Kelly Karlstrom.
Kelly Karlstrom, Annabelle Drive, Mary Esther. Not only am I a product of Okaloosa County Schools, I am a proud product of Mary Esther Elementary. Go Thunderbirds. I understand the hardship that the district is facing, and I can't even imagine the pressure that comes with these types of decisions. I don't have all the answers to all of the issues. However, I have been taught that if I see a problem, try to offer a solution. So I'm here to do just that. I'm asking for you to make sure all options have been considered, no matter how small they may be, especially hoping that this bill will make an adjustment to some possible students returning to us based off of the $9,000. Could just the portion of the property north of Mary Esther Elementary all the way to Hollywood be sold? Could we take 4 of our outside rooms in a completely independent building and turn them into South End District office locations? Could we have more VPK units? I don't wish for any school to be going through this. However, why choose a more secure school with the majority of the campus enclosed and the portion that isn't enclosed being easily converted? Could controlled open enrollment be left partially open instead of only closing because a specific grade level is at capacity? Are there South End schools with portables still in use, and if so, why, if we have rooms available? And a few tough questions I would like you to consider. Is this the only way out of the situation or the easiest in this challenging moment, bringing in the most money the quickest? What happens when all of the money is gone? Was this a temporary fix? What happens when all of the apartments are built on the mall property with all of the schools very close to capacity? Are classrooms that are filled to capacity and over but still meeting the percentage required only because another grade level is low truly best for our students and their education? You as a district strive to hire those that want the best for all OCSD students academically, who are passionate, strong, and willing to push each day in the classroom. Well, here I am, showing just that passion and trying to keep our school as I do each and every day while teaching in it for our Thunderbirds, their families, and for you. Please find a way to save Mary Esther Elementary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Susan Coxwell.
Good evening, Susan Coxwell, 10 Kohler Drive. Council, all of you. My name is Susan Coxwell. I am a resident of Mary Esther. I am a mother of a alumni at Mary Esther Elementary. I am also a product of Okaloosa County. Go Vikings, sorry. I'm not here for the logical side. I think our city manager took a good job at that. The emotional side we've heard from teachers, staff, former. I'm here that is quite upsetting that a month and 4 days ago, we were informed that this was going to happen. A month and 4 days. In between that, we've had a Christmas break with our families. It's whiplash. We're all dealing with whiplash. We're in the county, on the city level, on the residence level. It seems a little unfair. I know that we have zero say as a city in what's going to have the outcome, which I wholeheartedly and brokenheartedly think has already been determined. I would like to know why we were given such short notice. And I know you're probably not getting, you've already kind of covered that a little bit, but still, when you look at the numbers that were going down 5-10 years ago, and we got a month and 4 days. I think the lack of communication has been discussed, and moving forward, the city needs to be a part of the decision of what the 10 acres is going to bring to our city. We're losing a school, we're losing part of our identity. What is the frame of the time for vacancy of the school, complete and exit of the school district out of there, the time of listing, the time of sale? What are you looking at to get there on that? But it's a huge hit as a city's identity and leaving a community very deflated and feeling a little bit brushed aside and forgotten. I feel that it's just a bandage for a larger problem. I think we could have fought together if we had all been pulled in on it, and if we'd all had only known a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Lori Arrington.
to look at notes. I'm Laura Arrington. I live in Fort Walton Beach. All three of my children are products of Okaloosa. My adult children are products of Okaloosa County. And my three grandchildren, two of them go to Mary Esther and have for the last year, this year. And my baby girl, granddaughter was going to start in August. So I want to speak to you all, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you from a physically conservative perspective, one that values efficiency, return on investment, and long-term stewardship of taxpayer dollars. I've seen the workshops, I've seen your meetings prior to this and this one. Your published budgets show that elementary schools are built almost entirely on core instruction, and you've done real work already, scaling spending, reducing staff, adjusting object groups flexibly. You've shown that the system can adapt. And I want to thank y'all for that, because a lot of places don't do that. When I went through last year's budget, year before last budget, the budget that y'all have for this year, I could see where y'all had made adjustments, where y'all had let staff go and added staff as needed based on the enrollments. But I want to come to you today and say school closure is not the only structural tool available to y'all. Right now, it feels as if you're choosing the most disruptive option first, before fully exhausting purchase service reductions, which was a huge amount of your budget, exhausting doing energy negotiations with Florida Power to ask them, and maybe y'all do that, but I couldn't find it on your public site, asking them for donated portions of your energy bills, which is a huge portion. Subscription audits, copier and printer contracts, and consultant spendings. That's one thing that DOJ did when they first started. You have entire object groups that can still be reduced, that are not in line with other places, other districts. Even 5 to 10% across those categories would save money without touching classrooms. From a physical standpoint, the strongest research in education is clear, and I don't have to tell y'all that. Some of y'all are doctors, PhDs. Dollars spent on early education produces the highest return of investment, higher graduation rates, higher lifetime income, lower remediation costs. Economists estimate returns up to 7 to 10% annually. That's better than most public infrastructure projects. The elementary schools being targeted for closure receive zero athletics funding. They do, and I know that's the third rail, but I'm touching it. They do not carry the discretionary layers found at secondary campuses. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on athletics and associated services. These programs have value, but they are policy choices and not necessities. Elementary schools, neighborhood elementary schools, the only elementary school in one town is not. I ask that you, I'm finishing, I've got 3 more sentences. A conservative budget strategy does not dismantle the most cost-effective part of the system first. Before we close neighborhood schools like Mary Esther, please exhaust every discretionary lever you have. Reduce those purchase services, renegotiate contracts, pause non-essential travel, audit software and subscriptions. Ask this before you vote. Have we reduced every optional dollar before eliminating a core institution that delivers the highest long-term return on its investment? Protect the part of the system that prevents future cost and protect our neighborhood elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Miranda, I think it's Smoller. Okay. Thank you. Sophia Lopez.
Good evening. My name is Sophia Lopez. I live 1899 Turnberry Court. And I'm here to speak to you tonight as a Longwood parent. Mostly. Last year, I did become a substitute for the county, and I exclusively sub at Longwood. My family's journey there began 8 years ago, almost to the day, when my oldest started pre-KD for a language delay. Longwood is where she learned to speak. Like many families at our school, we attend every after-school event. My children, all 3 of whom currently go there, participate in every club that is offered. My husband or I have chaperoned every single field trip our children have attended. Now working there, I have built relationships with the students and the staff from the admin to the teachers to the support staff are dedicated, caring professionals who do their best every day for their students, trying to find new and innovative ways to build connection. Longwood is a huge part of our lives. It is our community. This year, my oldest daughter and her friends started planting in the school garden during their recess with one of our faculty members. This interest led them to create a garden club. It now meets twice a month after school and has over 20 students, and together they have nurtured a beautiful garden. Last week, when she learned about the school closing, she asked me, "Mom, what's going to happen to our garden?" I know that these decisions stem from financial considerations, but I ask you to keep the staff, the families, and the kids in mind. Our children have roots at Longwood. They grow there. Thank you.
Nicole Potter.
Good evening, Chair. There we go. Good evening, Chair, board members, and superintendents. My name is Nicole Potter, and I'm a parent of a 4th grade student at Mary Esther, and I'm here tonight to speak against the closure of our school. Mary Esther is not just a building, it's a place where children feel safe, known, and supported. For many of our students, it's the first place outside their home where they learn trust, confidence, and belonging. Closing the school takes that stability away, especially from young children who need it the most. If this closure moves forward, our kids will face longer bus rides, earlier mornings, and later afternoons. For a 4th grader, that means less time for homework, less time for rest, and less time to just be a kid. These are not small inconveniences. They are directly affecting learning, behavior, and emotional well-being. Rezoning also raises serious concerns. Class sizes are growing, resources are stretched, and teachers are doing everything they can to just keep up. Adding more students to already full schools does not improve education, it dilutes it. What worries me most about this decision is that this decision seems to treat children like numbers on a spreadsheet instead of individuals with real needs. My son is not a data point. He is a child who thrives because his teachers know him, because his school feels like a community, and because he feels secure walking into that building every day. Mary Esther Elementary has served generations of family. It's a cornerstone of our community. Once a school is closed, it's not easily replaced. The damage to trust, continuity, and community is long-lasting. I respectfully ask the board to pause this decision, fully consider the impact of our youngest students, and explore alternatives that do not place a burden on the children and families. Our kids deserve stability, not disruption. Please try not to consider, or please don't close the school.
Thank you. Okay, Brooke Biep.
Did you get my one?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, hi. I haven't seen you in so long. Good evening, Superintendent Chambers, members of the school board, teachers, staff, parents, and members of our community. I'm speaking tonight as a parent of 2 children at Mary Esther Elementary, and as someone who was raised right here, shaped by the very schools we are discussing. Mary Esther Elementary School is not just a school. It's a safe place, a community anchor, and a historic public building that has served generations of families in Okaloosa County, including many military families connected to Herbert Field. This building has been in continuous use as a public school for over 50 years. Under Florida's
preservation standards, that alone makes it historically eligible and worthy of formal evaluation. Closing the school would be devastating, not just academically, but emotionally and socially, for my children and for so many students whose needs are being met here every single day. This is deeply personal to me. I grew up in this community, and one of the most influential people in my life was my English teacher, Linda Vanchek. Her passion, her belief in her students, and the relationships she built shaped who I became. Those bonds matter. As a former language arts educator yourself, Superintendent Chambers, you understand that education is built on trust, stability, and connection, not just enrollment numbers. Today, my children are forming those same life-shaping relationships with the teachers at Mary Esther Elementary. They feel safe. They feel seen, which, by the way, is a huge deal. We have gone to multiple schools in Okaloosa County. We have gone to 3 schools, and my child's in 3rd grade. So, they feel seen, they are thriving. Closing the school would displace students, especially those with specific educational and emotional needs, for an environment that is already working for them. To date, our community has not been shown that a formal historic assessment of Mary Esther Elementary has been conducted. Before any closure or displacement occurs, a historic review should be completed and made public. Once a historic community school is closed, that loss cannot be undone. I'm asking you, Superintendent Chambers, to use your position to lead the kind of positive change our children need, not change that uproots them, but leadership that protects them. Please pause, reevaluate zoning for Herbert Field, explore enrollment alternatives, preserve what is working. Please choose our children, please choose our community, please keep Mary Esther open. Thank you.
Thank you. Did Miranda come back in? Okay, all right. Are there any other cards? Did you have something to say, Mr.?
I will, but I'm not sure if the board has anything that they'd like to say first.
Board members, would you like to make any comments? Okay. Dr. White?
I do have some short remarks that I've written because of the importance of this moment. And several speakers tonight have said, and I concur, it's very emotional. And so whenever I deal with things like that, sometimes personal experiences help me kind of get through that. So I'll just take a moment and share them. In 1963, I started 1st grade at the old Fort Walton Elementary School. And Mr. Max Bruner was our principal, and then later would become our superintendent. And I know that some of you probably knew him or know about him. Connie was there too, but we didn't know each other then. That wouldn't happen until 8th grade. But our school, Fort Walton Elementary School, was closed. And I think there are now plans to develop that property on Akeland Parkway. But then in 3rd grade, we moved, and I was zoned for Oakland Heights Elementary. And Mr. Hayes was my principal. And that school was closed, and that property is now the site of Home Depot on Mary Esther Cutoff. Then later, I was blessed to be principal of Ocean City Elementary off of Racetrack Road. And I worked with great folks, and we all helped many students and families. But today, that former school site is now a housing development. So I guess we all know that this school district and school board has had to do this before. And it's always been sad and unpleasant. These school closures are emotional and personal for me. Schools are institutions, and they are designed to survive as vibrant places of learning. But when they lose their customers, for whatever reasons, their financial viability is undermined. Now, I know that we've seen the decline in enrollment, and projections don't look good for the future. And I think we were maybe kind of all hoping that things might change. But it hasn't. And the fact is, and appropriately so, we are compelled by state law to have a balanced budget. I dare say that none of us sought this elected post because we wanted to close schools. For me, closing schools is either the first or second of the worst things that we are called upon to do. We don't often talk about it, but schools are financial institutions too. I'd like to thank all of the people who have written, who came to this meeting, and even spoken here tonight. Superintendent, I appreciate all the work that has gone into this painful decision and your recommendation, and I will vote in support of your recommendation, though I know it must have been hard for you to do. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. White. Mr. Bryant, do you have anything? Okay, we'll go back. Okay. Mr. Hanley?
Well said, well said. I can't really go more than what you said. I've been new to this job, didn't expect this type of decision, but that's a decision we have to make. And like it or not, demographics are demographics, and we just can't run from those, and we have to deal what we can. Now, how we deal with it is the question. And the staff, what you've done, excellent job. I know there's some things you might be able to massage in there, but it's a tough decision. And right now, what I see, I will support what you provided to the table today. That's all.
Okay, back to you.
I agree with Mr. Heinley and Dr. White. Again, I've been to both of these schools. I've seen firsthand what good things are going on there. Kelly, you did a good job. You did a good job tonight. And I know you're really nervous, and I know you've been spearheading a lot of this for your school. The folks that are here from Longwood that spoke, y'all did a great job. And it does not make this decision a lot easier because I see the people. I've been in those schools, and every school is important. Every school is important. I will just say that what makes it tough is that we have to deal with what comes to us from Tallahassee. A lot of this is coming from Tallahassee. And by law, we have to follow what is brought down to us. That's hard. When I go to Tallahassee to advocate, I get time with the folks that are making these decisions, but you know who can make more of an impact? All of you that came here tonight to speak to save your school. If we could get everybody together to go to Tallahassee and talk to our representatives to save public schools, because this is what it's about, saving public schools. I'm like Mr. Chambers. I believe in school choice. I have no problem with that, but I do believe that we need a level playing field here. And public schools are not getting a level playing field here. So I will just say that to those that came and spoke tonight, trust me, it's not an easy decision. Not an easy decision. If we could do something different, if we could just make that money tree that I planted years ago when I got elected grow, unfortunately it doesn't grow. We don't have the ability to in my private sector job, we had the ability to raise prices to cover the cost of things. In the public sector, we do not have that privilege. If we did, then your property taxes would go up, your millage would go up, which we do have that authority, but we live in a very conservative fiscal county, and we do live within the means. And I agree with Dr. White here is that I did not go to school here. My kids did, though, went K through 12. But I do remember hearing about Ocean City. I do remember hearing about Oakland Heights. I do remember hearing about Cherokee, Fort Walton Beach Elementary. You know, when we sold that property, it didn't take long for them to tear it down. And it took a lot of the memories with it and the people that were affected by it. Same with the schools that he mentioned. But guess what? We're still a strong school district. And I know that's easy for me to say, but it's the truth. Mr. Spolsky, you're right. I go across this state and talk to other boards. And yes, we are talking about closing 2 schools, but I have school board members in other counties that are closing 20, 30 schools, consolidating. And yes, that's a big challenge. They have 20, 30 charter schools that they compete with. So I will just say this, as we move forward, I appreciate everybody that was here tonight. Know that you were heard and that you're appreciated. But know that whatever decision we make, it is a tough decision. But I hope you'll be respectful of us, knowing that we're trying to do what we think is best, or at least what I think is best. But that doesn't diminish the fact that Mary Esther and Longwood are 2 great schools, and they have made an impact on a lot of people, and they will continue to make an impact. That is all, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I'll offer just a few remarks. I think Board Member White's comments were exactly on point. I don't dare try to improve on them. He hit the nail on the head. I will tell you, Mary Esther's in District 2. That's where I represent, and trust me, I agree. I didn't run for this position to be closing schools. My mother's a 33-year retired, but 33-year veteran of the Okaloosa County school system. I went the entire kindergarten through 12th grade here in Okaloosa County. In my private life, I own hospitality businesses, but I have taken the stance that I think probably out of inspiration from my mother and how much I have always enjoyed learning in my personal life and for looking after children's interests, how much I really deeply understood the importance of traditional public education, because it does, in the state of Florida, still educate over 80% of all the children that live in this state, the overwhelming majority. I have struggled. I knocked on probably 4,000 doors this last election cycle, talking to people about on their front porches all over this county, Mary Esther, South End, Crestview, about school issues, what's important to them. There is so much about school finance that the general public doesn't understand, because I didn't particularly understand it at the depth that I have been educated in the last 12 months. The way that we pay for schools, which they are financial institutions. Teachers, armies don't march unless you pay the soldiers. Teachers don't teach unless you pay them. School bus drivers do not pick up our children unless we pay them. These, whether we like it or not, this is a deeply financial institution. And when I go to people and I talk to them in their homes, I could find that no one really understood exactly how complicated school finance happens to be. It was astonishing how many folks I tried to explain. I go, look, by a show of hands, I mean, most of us are probably homeowners. We pay property taxes here in this county, but and they're high. Like, everybody's under the strain, especially in the last 10 years, 5 years in particular, post-COVID. The reality is the ad valorem collections really only cover about half the operating costs that it takes to pay everybody, keep the lights on, and run the schools. We keep talking about the legislature and the state, and that's the other half of the money that comes in to get our schools operating and running, making sure that everybody's paid, and that is allocated per head. And the reality is, if you do not have children at the desks, that money shrinks. We've talked about 5, 6 different direct sources of why we have fewer students in this district acutely over the last 2 years, that oftentimes go beyond what we as a district can control just from this board, what the city of Mary Esther might be able to control from incentivizing certain types of housing developments to come in. These are profound influences that are affecting the bottom line of our ability to run this school district. And we have one responsibility up here as a school board member, or as any school board member, which is we have to balance the budget. And Earlier in the presentation, Mr. Chambers touched on a bunch of different ways that we have been doing our best to avoid financial landmines over the last 10 years. One of the most, I know Ms. Arrington mentioned operational or optional money spends that what have we done to save. One of the biggest ones that got mentioned, and we didn't highlight it in depth, was how much money we have saved by self-insuring. And I might invite the superintendent or the assistant superintendent to exactly give me the number off the top of the head, but we have been doing everything we can to bob and weave to dodge. This is not necessarily a new problem coming from the legislature that unfortunately has two systems that it is trying to fund from basically the same trough of public money. And the rules are not the same for both systems. I will borrow an analogy from the superintendent and from our former FSBA president, but when you look at the regulations for traditional public schools, looks like this. You look at charter schools, it's about like this. When you look at private schools, it's about like this. We have more that we have to comply with. We have more that we have to make sure that we provide. Every child, regardless of their circumstances, if they enroll at Okaloosa County Schools, we have to educate them by law. And I'm proud, that's a duty. That's something that we do, and we do it well. But it costs money. The other systems, they can be choosy, and a lot of times they are. And that's just the reality that we face. We have growing costs, and we have to do what we have to do to make sure that we survive to fight another day, because I am a staunch believer in traditional public schools. You guys are traditional supporters of public school. Your children are enrolled in traditional public schools. And to piggyback off of what Mr. Bryant said was, we have to get the legislature to deeply care about the over 80% of Florida students that are still enrolled in traditional public school systems, because we can't afford as a community, as a state, as a country, as a society to allow that system to sputter, cough, and crash. And the long-term consequences are catastrophic. There's no greater investments we make as a people than the investments we make in our children and our students. This is not something that any of us want to do. It is a necessity for survival. I will keep open my mind for any glimmers of hope that are feasible to avoid this, but I have not had any identified to me or that I've detected thus far that keeps us from this very difficult decision. But I reserve an open mind, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
And I would like to say that I too am a true advocate of the public school system. I grew up in it. I spent 38 years of a career and immediately went from the classroom to the boardroom. I'm dedicated to public school, and particularly Okaloosa County. One thing that was said that I have to say I took personally, and I know this is an emotional thing, and I know it's not that, but never, and I appreciate my former student Brooke giving me a shout out, never in 38 years did I ever consider one of my students or any student that was in my area or anything a statistic or data. And it was mentioned that we're just looking at data. No, we're not. Okay, we are thinking about children. We are thinking about our teachers. It is personal to us too. We may not be at Mary Esther or Longwood working every day, but this is personal to us. And I took that personally as, no, I never saw it as just some data. All of my students were important to me, as was Brooke. Again, by doing this, and I know it sounds tough now, but by taking this action, if that's the way the board votes to close these two schools, we are looking at the big picture of our public school system here, which has consistently, back in the time when Dr. White and I and some others of you who grew up here and you knew, it was just understood that Okaloosa County schools were at the top. You never questioned it. And we need to, save that now because we're still an A district. So while this may seem, and it is, so emotional and tough right now, in the long run, as Mr. Destin was getting to, we're going to be able to salvage it. And again, one of the things you're saying is to look at this. We have looked at this. It's not as, we have been saying this, and maybe, I don't know how much we've gone out to the city of Mary Esther, but we've been saying this in our board meetings. You know, we televise our board meetings. You can see them. We've been saying it. There have been articles in the paper. We've been saying it. And the other thing is, it came very shocking. We did not realize the impact was going to be so strong from that scholarship program until it hit us. Like Mr. Chambers said, we've been trying to advance our schools and build to them and things because we were at capacity. But let's say we decide to not close the schools. I don't see a solution that keeps us from basically postponing a problem. I mean, we just can't. And then we're farther in debt, and that's only going to weaken our system. We've shared with you the cuts that the district have made. I mean, 22 million. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And we only have so much control over where people live, all right, and those kinds of elements. And we support in philosophy that a parent has the right to make a choice for their child. But when those choices are not in our public school system, then we have to react, take action on how that affects us. So, yes, this is personal for us, but it's not about just the statistics. We understand that we are dealing with people, and most importantly, with children, our children, Okaloosa children. Thank you. Mr. Chambers?
And I would just close on this topic, and I would say, and I've said it to faculties, and public education has changed. And what teachers, support professionals, or administrators have to face today has never been more challenging. So I would say to each of you, I fully understand when this type of a recommendation is there, in some of your minds, it's a slap in the face. And I understand that. You look at in this room right now and not in this room right now, there are folks who are angry. There are folks who are sad. There are folks who understand but still are disappointed. There are folks who don't trust. And I fully understand that. I fully understand that. I could sit here and say to you, yes, too, my children went through the school district, the entire school district. I taught here, lifelong educator. That doesn't necessarily, for me, that doesn't necessarily mean anything to anybody here. Because it's a difficult choice and folks are being impacted. The only thing I can say to you is I understand the questions, very much understand and appreciate those of you who are here, those of you who are advocating for the schools. I understand that. And again, even with those words, there's folks right now who go, mm-hmm. And that's understandable. But a recommendation is being made. There will be communication that will go forward. If in fact that recommendation goes forward tonight, I'll go with what I said to start this meeting, and it's difficult. It's absolutely difficult. And that's just what I'll say right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on in our agenda to Section 6, committee and staff reports. We handled these at the workshop. 6.1 was State of Florida State Board of Administration, Local Government Surplus Funds Trust Fund, Florida Prime, and External Investment Pool for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2025 and June 30th, 2024. Financial Audit Report number 2026-050, November 2025. 6.2, in-county travel paid for November 25, presented by Ms. Perry, and 6.3, out-of-county travel paid for November 25, presented by Ms. Perry. All right, moving down to the consent agenda. 7.1, board members, I need approval of the consent agenda.
So move it. Second.
Okay, so we'll take the motion by Dr. White and the second by Mr. Heinley. All right. I think we've had discussion. Anybody have any discussion beyond that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes 5-0. All right, we go on down to section 8, Superintendent's Human Resources. We covered 8.1, employees on administrative leave, for information only, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.2, Deferred Retirement Option Program, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.3, request to double fill the Assistant Superintendent Academic and Student Services, presented by Ms. Maxey, Assistant Superintendent Human Resources. All right, we need action on this, so I do need a, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you stopped me. Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Bryant. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Heinley. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes 5-0. Down to 8.4, out-of-field report for 2025 school year, presented by Ms. Sharon Duran, Program Director of Professional Services. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bryant. Second? Second by Mr. Destin. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, 5-0. 8.5, cleared certification requirements and issuance of contracts for the 25-26 school year, presented by Sharon Duran, Program Director, Professional Services. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Destin. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Heinley. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes 5-0. 8.6, employment separations, presented by Ms. Maxey. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bryant, second. Second by Dr. White. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it passes 5-0. 8.7, personnel recommendations, presented by Ms. Maxey. Need a motion?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Heinley, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any questions or comments? Okay. All voting in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Passes 5-0. 8.8, employee transfers, presented by Ms. Maxey. Need a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Heinley, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right. 5-0. Passed by 5-0. 8.9, leave without pay, presented by Ms. Maxey. Need a motion, please? Moved by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. All right, any comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any nays? Okay, 5-0, passed 5-0. All right, nothing on the discussion agenda. 9, 10, one of the construction program owners representative business, and I know Mr. Heinley had a meeting today, and you gave us paperwork. What you got to say about construction?
Okay, had a good meeting today. I'll start, you got your paperwork in front of you, I'll hit a few of them. Task order number 12, district-wide sales tax construction projects. So Edwin's is complete. The cafeteria and media center renovation is finished. And the next one is Scope Mod 6. Ruckle and Plough are being demoed as we speak. Also, the following ones will be Bobside, Shalimar, and Wright. They're in the design phase, and the GMP will be coming to the board soon. If you go a few pages, the next one to talk about really is task order number 24, and that's this building. It is done. Last phase was complete. We're in the punch list. We'll have some small items cleared up. Next one, hop to task order number 27, Bruner Middle School chilled water pipe HVAC project. That's sales tax. Expected GMP at the next meeting. Get that started. Task order number 28, district-wide phase 2 security upgrades. You know, we did Niceville and Baker, and we're now going to start looking at another school, and we'll look at that other school sometime this summer. GEP will be coming before then, sometime this spring. Jump to task order number 32, Blue Elementary School and Kenwood Elementary School roof replacements. So under that, those are all finished, but under that, we also had the central admin roof. GMP will be coming next meeting, and we'll do the phase 2 of the roof here, the roof coating. Let's see, task order 34, sales tax projects at Meggs and Destin Middle School. Destin's finished, and Meggs is will be finished next month. And that was the gym and all the things that associated with it. Task order number 35, the big one. We got Pineview School, Destin Elementary School, and Baker. Well, Baker is finished. So this was our biggest task order going right now. Baker finished ahead of school. The classes have been handed over. 10 classrooms, I believe 6 out of 10 are occupied as we speak. So that was a very well managed project on that one. Destin is oncoming. The suspense date on that is August 26th. They're coming along gangbusters. They do have a playground they finished that can be utilized now. So they went ahead and did that, and so they could utilize that. And then you got the new school, Pineview. Still August 26th, gangbusters. They're working gangbusters up there to get it done. They got a lot of work to do, but they've done a lot of work.
I was out there Saturday taking a look, and they were actually out there working. Even when it was raining, they were out there working. So.
Yeah, oh yeah, they've been full bore. I want to give a shout out to Bill Smith and his whole team. The water sewer deal that we worked with the city up there is good for them and good for us. Saved us a lot of money in construction, the way they worked that. So that's excellent work.
Can I say real quick that if you're a Facebook person, on Facebook, there's now a page for Pineview, and there's a video on there. You can see some of the drone footage, so you can keep up with what's happening at Pineview if you want to.
It changes.
Yep.
Daily, weekly. So.
Yep.
Task order number 37, sales tax HVAC projects. The big one we got is the Niceville High School Media Center that wasn't completed last summer, but we completed summer of 26. April, expected GDP to come to the board. Task order number 35, district-wide fine and performing all arts facility improvements. That's sales tax and 1.5 money. The 1.5 is Crestview. It should be finished February 20th, so next month. And then the sales tax portion of Niceville High School's band room will be finished in March of this year. So that's exciting. Task order number 39, district-wide parking and paving projects. The big one, well, Crestview's phase 2 is almost finished. Now that they got the band room portion coming up, they put the curbing, so that will be done really soon. Then they'll go to phase 3 at Crestview, and the GDP will come to us this spring, and they'll do that in the summer of 26, post-graduation, for anyone concerned about that. And then the OTC building that falls under this for the paving, that building is going to be done February 26th. Next page, you scroll down to task order number 44, priority roofing projects. So, Elliott Point phase 1 was complete, and phase 2 will be in summer of 2026. Niceville High School, by the band room, they're going to do that on MLK holiday. They're going to try to do it in 4 days and knock it out. So, looking good on that. Task order number 45, sales tax for priority restroom projects. Expected GMP next meeting for OTC and Laura Hill. And then we got the STEM Academy, task order number 46, sales tax project, GMP in February. And summer 26, we'll do that project, and that's going to be the STEM Academy Cafeteria Renovation Project. That is my report, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Lots going on. Good stuff. All right, thank you. All right, moving on down to 11, Attorney's Business, Mr. McGinnis.
No report this evening.
Thank you, sir. 12, Superintendent's Business.
Nothing further tonight.
Thank you, sir. All right, down to 13, Board Members' Announcements or Requests for Information. All right, we'll start, let's start with Dr. White. What do you have tonight, sir?
I've said enough, nothing else.
All right, Mr. Bryant.
Just one announcement for those that are still here from Northwood. As you all might know, one of our teachers, former teachers there, passed away last week. Miss Pat Kimball passed away. She was a 25-year veteran at Northwood. I will tell you, if you read my Facebook post, how influential she was to me, even though my children didn't go to Northwood. I did know her outside of school, but when I first announced that I was going to run, she was one of the first people that came up to me and encouraged me to run. But I will just say that she impacted a lot of people in her lives, but our thoughts and prayers go out to the Kimball family. And once again, thank you to everybody who participated tonight. It does my heart good to see people participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Destin.
Sure, I only have a couple quick things. I just want to say to everybody who is here tonight, general members of the public, I know how much time it took for you guys to come out tonight. I am deeply grateful for your participation. You have lives, you have families, you have jobs. It's been over 2 hours that you've been here tonight. I profoundly thank you. We have an 8th grader, he's a 9th grader now, but we have an 8th grader from our district who represented the entire state of Florida at the National Civics Bee in November. And it is not an easy thing to get to the National Civics Bee. It's one of the profound, talented people that we have in our district, and I will tell you how this fits in just a moment, but that young man came up and was honored by this board a few meetings ago, and I think it was you, Madam Chair, you asked him a very important question right on the spot. This is a 14-year-old kid, man. And she said, you know a lot about our government, you know a lot about civics. What's the most important thing that you think you could tell somebody with all the knowledge you have about how our government works, our democracy? It was a tough question. And he sat and he thought about it for a moment and he said, I want people to understand that the system works if you participate. And one of the most often overlooked reasons that we get so upset about state, national, and local politics is that we go, I don't think it's functioning. I don't think it's working. I don't think it represents me. It can and it will through participation. And I have learned that it always works better with your involvement. Please don't let tonight be the last time that you come to a school board meeting. In the next few months, years, our communities need your participation. Our government needs your engagement. And it's one thing at the local level, and I understand every single one of us have the woes and struggles of our own personal lives, and it takes an awful lot to say, I'm willing to take on some of the woes and problems of the general society. A lot of us go, I just don't have the time, man. Somebody else is just, the world's too complicated. We need everybody on deck. This is a good country, this is a good nation, this is a good community, this is a good board. We are good people, but we got to participate. And I just tell you, even though tonight was not particularly warm and fuzzy and in many ways deflating and disheartening, but I will tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I deeply appreciate you coming and participating. And I want to see you here at every meeting. I genuinely mean that. So I'll leave it there. I will tell you, as a Fort Walton graduate and now the Fort Walton Beach High School representative up here on the board, it brings me great pleasure every meeting to brag on them. So in recent history, so our Stars dance team We took third at the NDA Regionals. I'm proud of our gals. They did fantastic. And we have a young man who participated in the 40th annual MLK Oratorical Contest. And that is that's nothing to slouch about. These are our students that are doing, we talk about the profound things we do in athletics, but we're kicking butt in the arts, and we're kicking butt in civics. We're math bowl, academic team. We've got some of the best drama kids that are just crushing it all over the district, but we've got a few at Fort Walton, and I'm proud to brag on them. So other than that, appreciate everybody being here tonight. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a couple things. First of all, I want to do a shout out to a group called the Backpack Buddies at Baker School. They every Friday send home bags of food to students who need that, and for many of them, that is their entire food for the weekend. So they're working very hard, and over Christmas, they were able to help 500 families. So that's a lot. Also want to congratulate Ms. D'Amica McClendon. She is the criminal justice instructor at Baker, and they for their CTE, they have criminal justice. They have the 9/11 public safety telecommunicator program, and their team, first time out in the competition, has won a bid to state competition for the Florida Public Safety State Competition coming up in April. So I'm very excited because these young people are learning how to assess serious situations and to work on that 9/11, 911 when you call, how to handle that. And I think my phone's trying to get me there, is going off. But I'm very happy for them to go down to Tampa and to do that. Also, just found out that the Baker girls weightlifting team, state champions. So go Gators. Again, thank you all for being here. You have been heard. We appreciate you. And
Whoa. Don't grab that gravel yet.
I'm not. I'm saying my stuff. Okay? Okay. Now, we're going to the next one. What now?
Mr. Heinley hasn't said.
Oh, he said, okay.
You gave him only his construction report.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Heinley.
I have nothing to say. No.
Please.
I do have to get a shout out to Harper Campbell. We talked about it a little bit earlier today. He was a nice high school senior that was awarded the prestigious Taylor Haugen Trophy.
That's great.
Taylor Haugen was a football player, a 4.0 student that died in a football playing incident many, many years ago, and his parents started a foundation giving it to someone that epitomizes what their son stood for, and that's academics, athletics, leadership, community service, and faith. So he got a $1,000 scholarship and a $1,000 donation to their school's athletic department. This is a highly contested thing amongst the athletic students. Tim Tebow identified with him, came here, gave the first award out. A lot of emotional stuff when you meet with a Haugen. If you are a student athlete and you get nominated for this award, you've arrived. Not less if you don't get it, just being nominated for it. So congratulations to Harper Campbell for that. Now that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Okay. So that moves us down to 14. Public comment. Yep. And this is the yellow card. 14.1, members of the public desiring to address our school board with general comments. So anything with the MIS 6120, do we have any yellow cards? Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Superintendent? Anybody else? Staff? Okay. Please be safe going home, and thank you again. This meeting is adjourned.